What's happening, APLers? Here with the week 2 preview. Obviously, week 2 got underway on Thursday night with a game that has some impact across several of our matchups here, and maybe a bigger one for Tank's team long term with Tua's health up in the air. So anyway, we'll keep going with the preview, and we'll start with Solomon versus Sade. So I thought it was worth pointing out Kelsey's haircut and just general appearance here. I think, the question that always gets asked is my hair or that hair. I think he probably would still take Kelsey's hair, but it's closer than you think. So anyway, moving on to football stuff. Solomon, forget this to work. It works. There we go. Solomon's got some work ahead of him this week to take down Sade. To cut to the chase, Sade's team looks really strong this week. His matchups are pretty good overall, and Solomon has a hole left by Jordan Love being hurt, and then the running backs, which have been talked about quite a bit. So we've got to find ways to make it work where Solomon can take advantage of maybe it's today's weaknesses or how games go his way and to come out on the winning end here. So Herbert against the Panthers. It's at Carolina. Projection is 270 points. It's not great. I think it's the lowest projected quarterback that's in of our 10 starters this week. It just doesn't look like a great spot for a quarterback to go nuts because it seems like the Chargers want to run the ball a ton and the Panthers aren't very good. So they should be able to run the ball a ton and not have to throw a lot. So in order to beat today, we need this one to go the other way. The Panthers need to be competitive, and Herbert needs to throw the ball. So it doesn't seem like a great likelihood, but we'll see. On the other side of that matchup, Solomon's got Chuba at running back. So that's kind of like the opposite of what we think this one needs to do too. We need Chuba to run like a lot. He didn't run like a lot last week. Miles Sanders was involved in the mix, which wasn't really expected, but it did happen, and Chuba didn't get a whole lot of run. So we need that to change. Starting him over Gus because Dobbins definitely outgained Gus something like in the I don't know what it was, like 160 some total yards to like 29 of Gus. So it's probably a good idea here to put Chuba in instead, but maybe not a ton of upset on Chuba. Singletary against the Commanders has to be better than the matchup against the Vikings last week. Commanders defense looked pretty bad last week against the Bucks, so Singletary can be the dual threat guy both in the air and the ground. 79 points. In order to win, we need that number to go way higher. So we need like a big touchdown from Singletary or to be very involved in the passing game, something like that. So we need Singletary to do more, not do less. The wide receivers, I think, are the spot where Solomon needs to set the tone and take advantage. So Jefferson against the 49ers. They did a nice job last week shutting down the Jets receivers. So we would need to prove that Jefferson is not Garrett Wilson, which is what he said in a press conference today. And not in an arrogant way, maybe a little bit, but not super arrogant. But we need the Vikings to throw a ton, and we need them to throw a ton to Jefferson. Could happen. We need Garrett Wilson to do more than 92 points. We need the Jets passing game to run through Wilson, which will probably do in like a lot. So we'll see if that's possible or not. And then Sade has Sade has Stroud. So Solomon needs a good chunk of Stroud stuff to go to Diggs. Could happen. And then we need Kelsey to be old Kelsey. We need like a 250, 300-point game out of Kelsey to make things interesting here. And then a bunch of field goals out of Butker. Defense looks fine. Quay Walker was solid last week. Tony Adams was really good for the Jets. And Derwin James is fine. So those guys project out okay. On the Sade side of the ball, the matchups look overall pretty good. The Bears secondary is a little bit concerning. They're supposedly pretty good. So maybe they can do some stuff to limit Stroud, but it still feels tough to shut down those three receivers and a tight end and maybe a running back that can catch the ball a little bit too. So 327 for for Stroud seems okay, given the matchup there. They're at home, which might help a little bit too. The running backs should be fine. Bijan was involved a ton. Buck 30 is a pretty tall number there to pencil in at running back. We'll see. On that, Derrick Henry against the Raiders, this is the game script that you want for a Ravens running back. You'd like to think that Henry will be relied upon in the second half a lot to get the win. So 92 seems maybe like a little low. So combine those two guys together, maybe 222 between the two is fine. Now, wide receivers, the matchups here are really strong for today. Cooper Kupp against the Cardinals, there's no Puka. Basically, the offense is going to go through Cooper Kupp again. He's going to get a billion targets, and the Cardinals defense is not good. So great spot for Kupp. Neighbors gets the secondary that got shredded by the Bucks last week. So he does have Daniel Jones throwing the ball, which is worse, a lot worser than Baker Mayfield, but still a really good spot against a really bad defense. And then Debo, usage is off the charts because McCaffrey is out. So he's going to get more carries probably than normal at running back and still catch the ball as well. So really great spot for Debo. So those three receivers are going to be tough to beat, but as I said before, Solomon matches up okay there. Just needs things to go his way versus today's way. Laporta against the Bucks. Kind of need a repeat of last week, maybe a little bit less. For Solomon to win, we need the Lions to pass to other people or run the ball a ton. But kind of feel like there could be a rebound game for the Lions that were forgotten last week in Laporta and Monroe. Kicker is fine. Defense is good. I think those guys are all solid. And as we come out here, we have today with like a 200, almost a 200-point margin here is what we're projecting. So I think that today will win without a big sweat. There's just too many big guns on today's side that have really good matchups that I feel like it's going to be a tough one for Solomon to overcome, but anything can happen. And as I'll say twice here, somebody's has got to go. One of the favorite sayings for Greg there. So somebody's going to come out of here 1-1, and the other one's going to be 0-2 to start out the season. Rough spot there. So thinks today's got this. Solomon's going to need a lot of stuff to happen to get out with the win. Next matchup is Greg versus Douge. So on the Greg side of the ball, Greg said he has the worst roster in the league. We have Brock Purdy against the Vikings. It'd be interesting to see how that game plays out. It seems like our defense was okay last week, but we played Daniel Jones, so maybe that doesn't count. Purdy with no CMC should be. I don't know if that makes a difference. Seems like it should be fine. So 298 for Purdy is fine. They're on the road, whatever. Jonathan Taylor against the Packers for 109. I'd like to think that that's a lot bigger number. The Packers are starting Malik Willis at quarterback. It's kind of embarrassing. I'd like to think that the Colts are going to be up and that the Colts will be able to run the ball a ton with Jonathan Taylor. And the Eagles ran the ball a ton last week really well against the Packers. So seems like a good spot. I think 109 is maybe, hopefully, the floor. Maybe there's more. James Conner against the Rams. I think that game is another fun one this week. That could be a shootout. As I said before, he was heavily involved in the first half last week and then kind of just faded after that. So maybe he can get the whole game going here. So I think that matchup is good. Should be a good spot there. Ayuk, hopefully another week being in camp and all that stuff will help against the Vikings. I don't know if that's any good or not. Yeah, we'll see. Tyler Lockett and Rashid Shaheed are the waiver wire pickups to fill in for Adunze and Puka Nacua. I think they're all right. Lockett was useful last week. The thought is that JSN is going to take over that, but the number 2 spot, but Lockett still looked pretty good. And then Shaheed needs some deep balls to pay off here at the wide receiver 3 spot, and that's what he does. So I would like to think the Saints are behind, and maybe that can happen for Shaheed. Greg's got the Isaiah Likely in instead of Mr. Mark Andrews. It'll be interesting to watch how that plays out this week to see if it was really the Chiefs' coverage on Mark Andrews that shut him down, or if he's just looks like he's slowing down and Isaiah Likely is really the real deal. Might be that both of them are good. We'll see. Be fun to watch. Kickers and defenses are there. Greg has the big IDP pickup of the week and Zach Bond. Heavily hyped. Let's see if he's the real deal. On the Daggy side of the ball, Kyler Murray against the Rams. That's anticipated to be a very fun game. 313. Kyler's taken some criticism here this last week because he sucked basically in the game, and they're saying he didn't hit the right people and all that stuff. So they're playing at home. Like to think there's a little bit of a rebound there for Kyler. The running backs are awesome. Brees against the Titans, great spot. Barkley against the Falcons, seems like a good spot there too. So those are some big numbers from those two running backs, and he's hoping that that's how it works for the season. So good spots there. Amon-Ra is being hyped as one of the big turnaround guys this week, and the Bucs secondary is hurt and seems like a really great spot for Amon-Ra. Mike Evans is just always good. 86 is kind of like a middle of the road number. He can always have a couple touchdowns and go over that, kind of like he did last week. So I like to think Amon-Ra and Mike Evans in that same game that looks like a shootout. It's the only game that has an over-under of over 50 this week, but those are good game environments for that. And then Xavier Worthy is kind of also in another good game environment where you think that Casey and the Bengals can go nuts. And Worthy looked fun this week, so why not have him there as your third wideout? Evan Ingram to do more than he did last week. He just had like one catch last week or 11 points. So 99 is the projection here, which seems a little high for a guy who just had a one catch week last week and is playing the Browns, whose defense is allegedly pretty good. But he was very good last year, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So here is Daggy with a 60-point margin of victory in the prediction. So I think that Daggy moves to 2-0. I think those talked about those two running backs. They're just big numbers, guys that can go nuts at any time. I think they're the difference. Plus, Kyler is going to be playing from behind against the Rams, or at least in a game that goes back and forth. So I think they just has a little better for shootout potential in better matchups than running back to sneak by Greg. Next matchup is Corey versus me here. So on Corey's side of the ball, we got Mahomes against the Bengals. They're at home. Fun game. Mahomes is the #1 rated quarterback this week. He's got it all except for Hollywood. But he's got Worthy. We got Rice. We got Kelsey. We're good. Mahomes should be fine. I'm personally just hoping that that's not like a 400, 500 point game against the Bengals, and 348 would be manageable. At running back, we got Josh Jacobs. Somebody's going to have to do something in the Packers offense. It's probably Josh Jacobs. So I like to think that he gets some carries early. If the Packers fall behind, Jacobs is definitely capable in the passing game. So he stays involved the whole game and can have a nice game. Eckler against the Colts. I like to think that the Colts gave up a ton of plays last week to the Texans because they either score on big plays or they get rid of, or they go like 3-and-out because Richardson can't throw it to anybody. He's like really trying to because his accuracy sucks. So maybe the Commanders have the ball a ton and maybe they're behind a bit, and Eckler is the guy. So I think that's what Corey's hoping for there. Wide receiver, got AJ and DJ. We need like another something J there for the third receiver. It'd be way cooler. But AJ Brown against the Falcons sounds pretty good. He draws AJ Terrell and can go nuts. But AJ Brown's always a scary guy to be playing against. So I think that's a fine matchup. DJ Moore against the Texans should be fine too. I mean, potentially that game is fun if the Bears offense can be functional. And then McConkey looked solid last week for the Chargers. Corey has Amari Cooper on the bench here, which I think is understandable given how bad Deshaun Watson looked last week. So McConkey may not have a huge upside, but should be solid. in there and get a bunch of catches, maybe sneak in a touchdown. And then Kittle, as always, is the guy that can go nuts on you. So the Vikings defense is focused on others. Kittle can roam free and do his thing, and he's always up for big play, big games there. So Kittle at 116 is, I think, is fine and tolerable. On my side of the ball, Dak against the Saints, projected for 312 there. Mostly just, I think, his upside might be capped by their defense being really good and not having to pass the ball towards the end of the game because they're going to be ahead a lot. And that seems like that'll be the case this week. HN had a really nice game on Thursday night, 192 points. Going into the game questionable was a great start. So I was excited to see that. It's a big help. The Bears defense, I think, is maybe the key to my matchup here. If the Bears defense is really good, I can shut Mixon down. Mixon was heavily involved last week. We'll see if that continues this week. And then that kind of flows into Tank Dell as well, starting Tank Dell and Jameson Williams over Harrison and Drake London because they were really bad last week. And these guys looked good. So we're hoping that Dell can get deep and connect on a long touchdown. Same for Jameson Williams. He looked really good. Very involved last week for the Lions. We'll see if that continues. He's coming into the game with a questionable tag, so that could slow him down a little bit. And they could just say, we proved that Jameson can do stuff, so now people have to cover him, and that's going to open up more stuff for Laporta and Amonra. It's just a fun offense to watch and see where they feed the ball to. Kind of the same for the Chiefs. Rashee Rice should be good for his slant boy routes and catch 6 or 7 balls and see what he does with the yak and go from there. McBride, I'm hoping for a big game there against the Rams. Should be a good offensive environment there, and hopefully they're playing from behind and he can catch a few passes there, but like that spot. The kickers and the defense, I think, are fine. My defensive guys are projected a little higher than Corey's, but we'll see how it all plays out. So in the end, it's about 126 point margin of victory predicted for me. So I think Mahomes will have a big game. He'll sneak by, but AJ Brown and Caden Ellis will be making a nail biter on Monday night. Next matchup here, we have Ryan versus the super team. Ryan's got some problems here. Similar to how we're trying to construct a story for how Solomon can beat today, I think we have to do the same here for how Ryan can beat the super team. Ryan's is mostly because Josh Allen got 174 points on Thursday night. The Bills did not need to do really anything in the air because they could run the ball pretty much however they wanted against the Dolphins. They had a pick 6, and Allen just didn't need to do anything. So 174 points is the result. So the rest of the guys need to go crazy for Ryan to take down the super team, and the super team needs to kind of shit their pants. So ETN against the Browns seems rough. Browns defense is good. There's a Tank Bigsby in the picture that may limit ETN's upside, but ETN can go crazy too. Just don't think it's a huge spot, but it could be. Rashad White against the Lions. The Lions' run defense is excellent. Their pass defense is not. The good news is Rashad White catches the ball really well. So feel good about his floor, and maybe he can break one and exceed expectations here. Jamar Chase against the Chiefs. It's really hard to figure out what's going on. Like, the stuff coming out tonight is that Chase feels like he was misled in negotiations during the summer. He is not interested in signing a contract extension at all this whole season. So you just wonder if he's just going to shut up and play, or if this is going to like linger throughout the season and he's not going to be motivated and just goes bad. Sounds like a PR shitstorm there, and we'll see how it all plays out. But Chase against the Chiefs D-backs are good. He gets McDuffie on him the whole game. He got shut down. Chase got shut down last week by Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots, so he could conceivably see that he gets shut down again, but he's still Chase and can go crazy at any time. Godwin against the Lions. Again, that game should be a good spot. The Lions secondary is where you can attack them. So I think there's a lot of upside on 77 points for Godwin. Deontay Johnson, he was like didn't do a thing last week. I just think the Panthers are going to be behind all season, so this has to work at some point, right? You just kind of think that it pretty much has to. For searching for upside here on how Ryan can beat the super team, I'm not sure Deontay Johnson's the answer, but I'm not sure there are any other answers here other than assuming you're going to get some safe floor points here from Deontay Johnson. Greg Dulcich for the Broncos. I have a lot of good things to say about him. He had 2 catches for 12 yards last week, 26 total points. The Broncos kind of suck. Steelers defense is like pretty good. So I don't know if you feel great about that. The other option here is Noah Fant. He had 2 catches for 11 yards last week, so even 1 less yard. He just don't feel great about that either. And the Seahawks are playing the Patriots. Their defense looked solid last week too, so maybe neither of these guys are the answer. On the waiver wire, and who knows? Who knows? There's tight end seems like a spot where we're going to get outscored by Ross's team. Kickers and defense, I think are fine. Move over to the super team and see what we got cooking over here. We got Jared Goff in the lineup. Maybe this will work. 319 against the Bucks. Bucks secondary is where you need to go. I think the 319 is a good number, and it could be a lot more. Jahmyr Gibbs for 102 against the Bucks. It's fine. He had like 98 last week. He and Monty are just going to split stuff up. Jordan Mason gets the call because of CMC's injury and IR spot. Even crazy last week. Maybe the Vikings defense is better than what he saw from the Jets last week, but the Jets are supposed to be pretty good. So maybe he's just in a great offense and they're going to just crush because that's what the 49ers offensive line does. So good spot for Mason. Nico against the Bears. I kind of talked about that. Like the Bears secondary is supposed to be good, so we'll see if they can shut down Nico. And then Olave against the Cowboys. It's a tough spot too. The Cowboys D is really good. So maybe those aren't smash spots for Collins and Olave. Pitts against the Eagles. We'll see if Cousins can throw the ball better than he did last week. Lots and lots and lots of talk about how his Achilles is not better and he can't plant and he can't work out a play action. He can't do all the things that he was really good at for all of his career. And everybody said he's fine. Don't worry about it. So it'll be fun to watch him Monday night to see if there's any truth to all that. In the end, I think it's just a really, really tough road for Ryan to win this one. Josh Allen gets even 150 more points. This is more interesting, but I think the super team is going to get win number 1. As I said a million times, Josh Allen's going to drag Ryan down, and Ross has like a good chunk of his roster hurt, but that's why he had all the extra picks. So the depth here comes through and helps him out get his win. I think this is the last matchup here. We have Jake versus Tank. So got Lamar here as Jake's picture. So Jake is rolling with Lamar at quarterback instead of Jalen Hurts. Lamar gets the Raiders, and Hurts has the Monday night game against the Falcons. Seems like the game environment might be a little better for Hurts over Lamar, because Lamar should hopefully not have to do a whole lot because the Ravens are going to crush the Raiders, but we'll see. 346 is the number 2 projected quarterback for the week. So Lamar's Lamar. He can go crazy. Running backs, Pacheco and Kamara, both solid. I think those are good numbers for those guys. Kamara's going to catch a ton of passes against the Cowboys because I assume the Saints are going to be behind. Wide receiver got a letdown from Tyreek on Thursday night with 39 points. Even when Tua was in there, he wasn't going crazy like he normally does. So the flip side of that is on Tank's matchup here is that, because Tyreek didn't go crazy, neither did Tua, and Tua left early and so there's some trade-offs between that. So Devontae and Keenan Allen here. Devontae is in that same game with Lamar, and just hope that he gets some more volume. Hope he can break a couple and get some points. Keenan Allen is iffy to play on Sunday night, so we'll have to watch that and uh, see what that looks like. Jake could be in a both of his other receivers are playing at noon, so we have to watch the injury report and see if there's anything in the morning for that. And Fryermuth is in at tight end because Njoku's hurt. We'll see how that goes. The Steelers like really didn't pass the ball too much last week, but Fryermuth still had 4 catches for 27 yards, 58 points. So 64 here seems like an okay projection. Kickers and defense are here. Nothing too much to add about that. On the tank side of the ball, we have a lot of stuff already figured out. We got a 169 from Tua before he got hurt. Wasn't having a great game, but still had like a quarter and a half left to rack up some points. So 169 is a tough number to win the week when you get that from your quarterback. James Cook with 156, he was great on Thursday night. He looked awesome. 3 touchdowns, one big one. And then Kyron against the Cardinals is a really good spot there. So feel good about that number. And then CD against the Saints. They had him involved a lot last week and they just didn't need to do anything in the second half. So maybe the Saints can keep it a little closer. Maybe CD can do something a little more, but 129 is a big number from CD there. That should be fine. The other 2 receivers, Pittman against the Packers. I wonder about the upside there with Richardson not really throwing the ball a ton or throwing it accurately. And are they going to need to pass because the Packers are rolling up really close. So Zay Flowers should be fine with their ears. And for Tank to win, he needs a bunch of Lamar to go to Zay Flowers so he can cancel out the Lamar points with his receiver. And then it could all just could not matter because Jake Moody could just have another 254 point game and kick Tank to the win. Can't really project that. So we'll just take a look at the final totals here, which is 2 points favor, 2 points up on, or Jake is favored by 2 points, is what I'm trying to say. I think we already know Tank's quarterback total. And I think that his early exit is going to be the difference in this one. So I think Jake will move to 2-0 and Tank will fall to 1-1. So that is it for the preview this week. Good luck to everybody tomorrow. We have a ton of games at noon, like 3 games at 3, and Bears and Texans on Sunday night, and the Falcons and Eagles on Monday night. So we'll be cheering with you on Monday night, Corey. All right, talk to you guys later.